15th. Good afternoon. It's just turned midday on Monday, the 15th of June. And we're talking about collaborations today. Lovely to see Paula back here, been in before, and newbie to Self Pub Fest, Liz. And we have Val Portelli, who Paula will mention in more detail in the chat. So we may or may not have questions from Val, but lovely to have another author here. So we're talking about collaborating. I've got you in alphabetical order, Liz and Paula, but we'll start with you, Liz, and then let's start with Paula.
Yes.
Yeah, as the non-newbie, to introduce yourself and the books that you've written yourself, so non-collaborations, and then Liz can introduce her non-collaborations, and then Paula, perhaps how you got together, and
Okay.
then
Cool. Yeah.
it's pretty much over to you. I will be asking questions at some point when there's a suitable lull. But yes, it's very much about your journey as authors and then collaborators. So lovely to see you both. Paula, over to you.
I live in Dorset, in the south of England, which is significant. And I started, I always was writing since childhood, but I started publishing books in 2016. And along the bottom down here in my virtual bookshelf are the short stories that I wrote, published at that time, and then a sort of memoir about my dad. Subsequently wrote those books there. I'll try to point at you. It's very difficult to point at something, but anyway, the Roman era ones, the Roman
Yeah.
era ones. Those are a series that I wrote set in the second century in Britain, and the top series, although there is a link to Liz, which we will come to, are the Margaret Desmarais books at the top there, and then there's sort of various odds and ends of short stories and things too.
Okay, thank you, Liz.
Hi.
Lovely. The books to your left are very. We will talk about covers, I'm sure, but are very, dare I say, Richard Osman-esque covers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
which are very in vogue at the
Mm.
moment. So, which of you're very colourful on the left as we're looking at it, so you're right.
Hmm.
Which of those sets which set A on your right or B on your left, which came first?
Okay, so these are behind me are all the books I've collaborated on with Paula.
Ah, okay.
So that's over there are the
Mhm.
Castor and Fleet mysteries, and that is where we began our collaboration journey.
Okay.
Over here we have the Booker and Fitch series, which is mysteries. Well, they're both mystery series, but that side is historical. This side is contemporary.
Okay.
And more recently, we've collaborated on the Lolmouth Bay books. So you can see books one and two sort of over my shoulder like that.
No.
And book three is coming this summer. When I'm not collaborating, I still murder people.
Okay.
I do clean up after
Mostly
myself
me.
mostly.
Right.
But yeah, I started out in historical mystery and I went with a sort of an alternative world Sherlock Holmes retelling, which became the series Mrs. Hudson and Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
I've also written the Maisie Frobisher mysteries, the Magical Bookshop, which is contemporary kind of cozy mystery fantasy.
Mm.
The Spirit of the Law series, which is, I can't even begin to describe what genre that could be.
Wow.
The Pippi Parker mysteries, contemporary cozy mystery. And there's probably others, but I can't think of them right now.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, that leads me to two questions. A, how
Mhm.
how many how many decades have you been writing?
Mhm.
Because there's so many titles of your
Okay,
own,
first book
let
came
alone
out.
contemporary
First book
collaboration.
came out in 2016,
My goodness.
so 10 years.
Wow. It's just long list, even just the links of the series is
Hmm.
amazing.
But I think we both started around the same time, didn't we,
Yeah,
Paula?
we did. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Did you know, Paula, did you know Liz already?
No,
Or
I met Liz. No, not at all.
okay.
I met Liz through a Facebook group. Was very reluctant to get involved in Facebook, but my daughter was a teenager and a young teenager, and she wanted to do it. And I said, "Well, all right, I'll help as long as you let me be your friend." I'm sure she
Okay.
had us secret messages elsewhere, but
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
And then through that, I then discovered there was all this opportunity, and I met Val through a different one about short fiction, and it really helped me to just feel free to share stuff and to
explore ideas and not be scared to tell people what I was doing, so it wasn't hidden away like it had been for years and years and years. So I met Val through one, and I met Liz through another one, which is called Writer's Soapbox, and we started. I'm pretty sure you asked me to beta read Jar of Thursday, I
I
think,
think that's right. Yeah.
and I
I'd
asked you,
forgotten that series. Yeah, one of the
yeah,
other Sherlock
and
series.
I asked you to beta read Discombobulator, which is a
Yes,
I
which
think,
was very good.
which is a memoir, totally different. It's not a novel at
Mhm.
all.
Mm.
And I don't know, I can't even remember why, but I think we just sort of thought we bu- we probably would have
Well,
the same
similar
approach to
genre,
writing. Yeah, I think because in that particular group, you can share a snippet of what you're writing,
Mm.
and I suppose we recognise each other's style a little bit. So that way, I think that's how we did it.
Yeah.
Um, and and the thing about it is, Liz lives in the north of England and I live in the south of England, so we didn't actually meet until after we started collaborating.
No, I think once we'd written 3 books together, we thought we should probably,
Probably
say
meet,
hello in
yeah.
person,
Yeah, never get it.
which
That's
is
the
kind of weird.
great thing about Zoom and the likes
Mm.
is that we can do that.
I don't even think
Yes.
we did that. We did it by
No,
phone
this
and
was
message.
this was pre-Zoom, so
Literally, when we were going to meet, I had to say to Liz, "Can you send me a picture so I know what you
mm,
look like?"
yeah,
And my son, who was a teenager at the time, was worried and wanted to come with me because I was meeting some random stranger online that I'd met online.
Yeah.
fair,
And I
fair.
said, "Well, I'm meeting another mum in a tea shop," and he said, "Well, that's what they all say."
Mm.
So,
Oh,
so
bless him.
Yes, and look what happened.
yeah.
Oh,
And the same with Val, actually. I had no idea what Val looked like either. And when I first met her, and I would write a short story about it because just in case she turned out to be something very strange.
So
right.
what we're learning is you like putting yourself in potentially dangerous
I did well,
situations,
yeah,
Paula.
yeah. Otherwise, life is very dull. So,
Well,
Mm.
how do you learn? Every now and then I come up with really strange things as we're watching television. And there was something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but my husband was thankfully so far not recently, fairly accident prone on his motorbike and in cars.
Ooh.
And so we've known each other since we were 16, and every now and then he'd have an arm in plaster or a shoulder dislocated or something, and I'd
Mhm.
go, I think it was somebody being tasered, and I said, oh, I'd love to know how it feels, because I said, have you ever watched? Because he's the kind of person he'll go to a barbed wire fence and to find out whether it's electrified or not, he'll touch it, which is not the
Right.
most sensible thing to
that
do.
hurts.
Mm.
But
No.
yes, so I said, oh, I'd love to know, for purely research purposes, I'd love to know what it's like to be tasered. And he just sits there, just shaking his head. Shakes his head a lot at me actually. So I think, yes, I think every now and then, if there's something that you find out about, I broke my ankle 2 or 3 years ago on a romantic beach walk in Sussex, and so I now know that. And if somebody said to you, right, I'm going to break your arm, you'd think, and yes, it wasn't great, but you'd think that'd be one of the most painful things going. But we learn how to write things from everything is experience. I call it fiction fodder.
Yeah, I had it was all horrible circumstances, but I had absolutely major panic attack once, and I fainted very spectacularly, which I tend to do. If I'm going to faint, I do it spectacularly.
You
Don't do many
probably
things spectacularly, but I do faint that way. Anyway, and as I was coming round, thinking a whole load of things, one of the thoughts in my head was, remember what this feels like, because you can describe it in a book.
yes. Well,
And I did, and it's actually the opening
uh,
scene of one of my books.
wow.
So.
Well, the only
Mm.
time I've ever given blood was shamefully in my 40s, and it's just something I'd never got round to doing. And I kept thinking, right,
Mhm.
yes, I must sign up for it. The one and only time I did it, thankfully after I'd given it, and apparently I have lovely veins, and they were very
Always
grateful.
good to know.
But I went over to the snack table,
Mhm.
and I remember they got chicken crisps, and I hadn't had chicken crisps for years. And it was a pack of Seabrook chicken crisps. And I remember opening it. Next thing I know, I'm waking up on a gurney. And because of that, they wouldn't have me again. They're very
They
grateful.
banned me for the same reason.
Did they? And the first, I remember waking up, I went, where's my handbag? where's my and I'm not really a handbag person, but I happen to have one. And where's my handbag? Because I was only concerned about my handbag, not fainting or making a fool of myself. There you go. So anyway, so how did you decide, Liz? How did you decide to collaborate? And whose idea did you go with, or did you think,
Okay,
let's
well,
write it?
for several years, we've each maintained that the other one asked us.
Okay.
The truth is, and I actually like dug through all my like messenger posts to find this. I thought, I'm going to settle this once and for all. I'm going to settle it. What actually happened was, I think I'd not long written a book called Murder at the Playgroup, or I was possibly in the middle of writing it and posting snippets, and we were talking about those kind of, you know, young mum at playgroup. You know, when you have like babies and toddlers and all the people you meet and stuff like that. And you know, we were just generally talking about, you know, our experiences. And Paula said something. I was like, you know what, we should probably write a book together sometime. And she went, yeah, we should. And it kind of got left for a bit, and then it got more of a thing, I think. And yeah, so there we were. And we tossed various ideas around, but nothing seemed quite right. And then I think it was me who said, oh, we could have a sort of an odd couple of, like, you know, Victorian women solving mysteries. And that was what we ended up going with. And Paula said, I've got the title for it, which was The Case of the Black Tulips. And she had you know, she had ideas for a plot as well. So that was where it all began.
Wow.
And I was really,
and that is why Paula's name is first on that series. Also alphabetical order, but she had the original. Right, this is where we're going with the first one. So there we were.
Right, brilliant. And how do you decide? I mean, presumably, because we're talking about a decade now. You mentioned earlier 2016.
Yeah. I think it was 2018 when we did those books. Yes.
Yeah. So
we're both still quite young writing wise.
Right. So how do you decide? Does it vary? I mean, presumably in the last 8 years, your process has developed. So did you agree up front that you'd write alternate chapters or different characters' points of view?
Yeah, we had a chat by phone, and old fashioned was that. I don't think Kurt was do Zoom. And we had a chat by phone, and that's how we decided to do it, because we're both a bit control freaky. Well, I am anyway. I'm not the most.
Oh no, I definitely am.
So we didn't really want to do what some people do, where it's a sort of mélange. We decided we would have a character each, and we would write alternate chapters. And because it was sort of my idea, that first one, I started with my character in chapter 1, and then it was a bit like relay, and Liz took chapter 2. And I can't really remember how tightly we plotted the beginning, but not very. Liz is a plotter. Liz is a plotter, and I'm not. I sort of am. I'm a plantser, so I have a sort of a idea of where everything's going, but I don't know quite how I'm going to get there. And Liz is the other way around. So we sort of had a loose idea. And we carried on like that for a bit until I murdered somebody Liz wanted to keep. So, and after that,
she has a bad habit of murdering people unexpectedly.
Yeah, but we got very much tighter about plotting out. And it's like, for me, it is like having a root canal, sitting there working out what's happening in each chapter. But Liz loves it, so you know.
Say I love it, but you know, I'm quite, you know, I don't mind it.
Well, I think because
it works, but it does work better. And then we sort of, as I say, you know, I write a chapter, send it to Liz. Liz writes hers, sends it back, and we carried on like that. And I think in the first days, I think there were some days when we were doing 2 chapters each, because we were so excited about what was happening, because we didn't really know what was happening to our characters or who they were. And I think we're a bit more laid back now,
because we were, you know, at the beginning we were quite, oh yes, we need an agreement, we need a contract for this. So I think we said we were going to do a chapter a week, you know, between, and take it in turns, and probably take about 6 months to do the whole book. Do you remember that, Paula?
We did it. How many weeks did we do it?
So Paula sent chapter 1. I think I sent chapter 2 2 days later, and then chapter 3 I think came the day after that, and I think chapter 4 may have come the same day. So we had it done in under a month, I think.
We did. And then we went, and we didn't even know that we were going to make a series, but then we just wanted to know what happened next. So we just started straight away writing the next one. So
wow. Do you have an average now of how long each book takes? Or does it vary?
really. I think well, it depends on the length of the book.
Mm.
Because our first two series are about 50,000 words per book. Longmouth Bay is a bit longer. It's 65, I think, ish. So that will affect it. And also, you know, if we have things going on or one of us is on holiday, then obviously that's going to mess with the timeline a bit. But yeah.
And do you both, Paula, do you still work on your own books as well as this?
Yes, it's not ideal to try and do both at the same time. I have done that. I prefer not to. So my own books tend to be quite long, so I will usually have to put them aside to then pick up this because I can't because it depends a little bit on the genre, but it's difficult to sort of get your mind in two different places. When I'm at the editing stages, it's different. So, you know, I can do two things at once in theory then, but
we do try and put a slot in the diary where
calendar,
we've got a little space, but it doesn't always work out that loud because sometimes life gets in the way.
It does,
so
Yeah, no, exactly. We've got a question from Val in the chat. Do you find yourself repeating a plot in your series?
Don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, somebody's always dead. Well, actually, no. To be
Not
fair,
always.
no, not actually in the Castor and Fleet series, they're not. There's not always a murder in everyone. But after that,
No.
and obviously Lulworth Bay, there's no murders because it's not that kind of genre. But
No.
but there's definitely one. Oh, you can tell murder, death, murder, death, murder, death. You know,
And
Yeah, you know what you're getting.
Liz, what's in, say, one of your series? Let's go with the ones on your left, the Murder at Midnight and so on.
Okay.
Do you have a core? Presumably, you have a core cast of characters in that
Yes.
series, and then other characters come in, get bumped off, or come in and you don't see them again thereafter.
Yeah, so our two main characters, we have my character who's Jade, and she runs a crystals and magic shop. And she has a great thing about, you know, being witchy and mysterious, but she doesn't believe any of it.
Okay.
But she has this reputation in the town. There's Haysby and Wyvern, which is a sort of a character in itself, which is the market town where Jade and Fiona, both live. And Fee, do you want to talk about Fee?
yeah. Fee is she runs a book barge, so she runs a barge which is also a bookshop. She lives on it with her teenage son. She's widowed and she lives there with her teenage son, but it's also a book. And it's partly inspired by Word on the Water in London, although I don't think he lives there. Well, he may do. I don't know. We didn't ask. But
it's
anyway,
also inspired by. We were at a conference in London together, and I think it was my job to book accommodation. And I was looking around, and I mean, accommodation in London isn't easy. No. And I came across this barge, and I said to Paula, "How would you feel about staying on a barge?" And as part of that, she said, "Oh, I'd love to write a book set on a barge." I'm like, "Well, go on, then let's write a book that's, you know, someone's set on, you know, some of it's on a barge. Let's do it." And we did.
Wow.
So,
and where is it that set?
It's not really. Haysby and Wyvern is not very real, but it's maybe somewhere like Worcester. So it's that sort of on a river, a major river in a sort of touristy area, lovely part of the world, sort of Midlands, England, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's handy because you have visitors, you have tourists, you have lots of nice scenery that you can talk about. There's a stately home down the river.
There's a ghost walk. There's a town ghost walk.
Oh yeah, and the Ghost Walk proprietor is an absolute
idiot.
Yeah,
makes it all up.
He's always like on for a quick profit, so he's fun.
He's quite happy that
lots of people him. In fact.
Yeah, we should have. Yeah,
well, we still
might.
There you go.
Do you have are any? I've heard that some people don't read a book or a series until there are 3 books in a series, and I don't think it's coincidence that a lot of series are trilogy. Have you finished a series between you, or do you have any idea, if you haven't, how many books there might? Just carry on writing them until you feel you've had enough.
Finished is an interesting word, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think with Booker and Fitch, waves hopefully to the right side of the screen, it is currently pausing.
Okay.
So we have actually just the book the book series has been signed by a publisher.
Wow.
So we are waiting to see how that goes, but there is the possibility of more books in the series.
Okay.
So there we go. Castor and Fleet, I think we realised that we kind of written ourselves into a corner.
Okay.
Because the problem is they get famous, and you can't really be a detective if everyone knows what you look like.
No.
So,
And they're also young mums as well at that point.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's more difficult, I think. But we have both got our own series that
yes, we have
came
spin-offs
off
that came from
spin-offs.
this
Yeah,
series.
so my Margaret Desmarais series, I actually am pointing in the right direction. That's
We're
a
doing very well
spin-off.
with that, I think.
That's a spin-off because she is the younger sister of Catherine, who's a main character in Castor and Fleet, and then Liz.
Indeed, I have the Maisie Frobisher mysteries. And Maisie she starts off as very much a minor character. She's a socialite. She was a debutante. She's an absolute snob.
Right.
She starts to mellow a bit because she has a bigger role in book 4 of Castor and Fleet, which is the case of the masquerade mob. So we had fun with lots of masked balls and, shenanigans and whatnot. And at the end of that series, Maisie, who's been having a dalliance with a chap called Archie, is thoroughly sick of men, and she goes off to travel the world. And I thought, right, okay, let's see what we can do with Maisie. So I sent her off on a cruise to India, and of course she came across some trouble. And I'm currently writing Maisie Frobisher book 8. So, yeah.
And I'm guessing, because you're so prolific, that you are both full-time writers.
Yes.
Full-time authors.
In theory.
I'm also a freelance book editor, so
okay.
There's that as well. So I usually have a client project on, and then I'm doing something else of my own in the other half of the day.
Yeah, me too. I find that this why you never get any of these sessions before midday, because I'm always writing. In theory, writing, unless I've got a deadline looming, I'm always writing until 12, and then time thereafter is either this or editing. So I think you have to set aside some time. Paula, do you have a sort of morning pages or time that you go, right, this is my sacred time? Family know that you're incommunicado.
Oh, the family wouldn't care what I told them. They'd still interrupt me if they wanted to. I mean, unfortunately, my children don't live at home anymore, so but that doesn't stop them from interrupting me. But my mother, my mother lives nearby, and I sort of take her on things, and to appointments and so on and so forth. So I still have family commitments. And I'm also involved in a literary festival, so that takes up some of my time. So when I say I'm a full-time, and I do talks, so when I say I'm a full-time writer, it's one of the things I do full time. I've just retired, and I don't know why I haven't got more time, but I don't. So my aim is to try and write during the day between about 10 and 3, because that's when my brain is sharpest, frankly. As anybody who knows me will know, I'm usually falling asleep over the TV in the evening, so I'm not an evening person at all.
Yeah, no, me neither. I'd rather go to bed at 8 and get up at 4. That would be lovely. Liz, how about you? Do you have set times, or is just when something strikes you?
I prefer to write in the morning, and if I'm writing a book, then I like to crack on and keep the momentum going. So I'll try and write 5 or 6 days a week if I can. And my process, which has been hampered a bit by the rotten weather we've been having, is that I go for a walk. And this is what I use to write on my phone, which has just disappeared. Interesting. So yeah, I open an email, I hit the dictate, the kind of the voice to text option, and I have a little index card, which looks something like this. Ta-da!
Yeah.
And that will have what's supposed to happen in that chapter. Okay. So I go for a 3-mile walk, and hopefully at the end of that, I have a chapter in draft.
Wow. And
then I go home and try and make it sound sensible, because the phone obviously, doesn't hear everything entirely correctly. So
I've tried that. I would love to do it, and I just cannot make it work. My brain doesn't work in the same way. I end up, and also if you've got the wrong character name, like I have one called Fox, it tends to
Yes.
type something else
Something
altogether.
else.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I've found with that also that, yeah, sometimes they end up renaming characters because it consistently gets it wrong. So, yeah, sort of a lot of find and replace when I get back to my room.
I bet.
Yeah.
So when you finished a book, do you both read it at the same time, or one of you edits it, and how does that work?
We normally take turns with that. So I think quite often if you're the person who plotted it, you take the first kind of go at it. And then the other one will read it, and we'll sort of backwards and forwards it a few times, because I kind of edit as a job.
Sure.
I do, like, I suppose I have the final say, and it gets the final polish from me. Usually I do the covers, and they go into publication under my sort of imprint, just because I had it sort of more set up, I think, because I had more books under my belt at that point. So that's the
what do
reason.
you use to do your covers?
It's usually stock photos. I love fonts. I have a collection of fonts,
Right.
Which I know is a little bit sad, but it pleases me. And I use a kind of a graphics and photo editor. It's a free open source one, and unfortunately, it's called GIMP.
Okay, yes, I've heard
So that is what I use.
Yeah, no, they're
The
great
Longmouth
covers.
Bay ones, however, there is no way I could have done those. We hired a designer for those, and I must admit, I absolutely love them. They're so good.
Yes. I think, I'm guessing they're cozy crime. You say they're contemporary. Are they fairly cozy?
Longmouth Bay are more sort of cozy fantasy rom-com.
Okay.
So there may be a mystery element, but actually it's much more about the
No, I
fantasy
was
and the
thinking of
romance.
because I'm obviously looking at my camera here and you're over there. Yeah, no, I was thinking of the cream ones. So you do.
Oh, yes.
But yes, the fantasy ones, I totally get why you get a cover designer to do it.
Booker and Fitch then, not entirely cozy,
Pretty
I would
cozy.
have said. But definitely on the cozy side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. And how do you, obviously they go on, I'm guessing, are you Amazon only, KDP Select for Kindle Unlimited, or are you
Pretty
wide
much,
with
yeah.
everything? Right.
Yeah, no, it's partly because I'm too lazy to promote a book everywhere. So it's like, if it's on Amazon, I know I have one place to direct people to.
Yeah.
So,
well, I heard a statistic the other day that 90% of books are sold from Amazon.
Yeah,
So
well, that's the reality. That's the trouble.
Yeah, I'm Amazon exclusive with my longer fiction. So those that's full length, and then there are novelettes thereafter. There's 6 altogether in that series. Those are 2 novellas. They're about 45,000 each, 40,000 each, and then those 2 are full length, and those are KDP Select. Everything else is wide, but mainly because I had an assistant at the time who was a good friend of mine who was living with me, and she is an assistant, a VA, amongst other things. And so she was doing, as part of the rent, she designed my covers, she put them through draft to digital. So everything else is wide. But then since she moved, I moved, and she now works for herself. I've just put everything on Amazon, and haven't really got round to putting everything else wide. I was put off really because Ingram Spark, I'm not sure whether they do it now. I think Draft to Digital has dropped it, where you had to buy tokens, and if you wanted to make any changes, you had to pay to make changes, which is ridiculous. Because Amazon, you can change it as often as you like. So that was one thing that put me off.
I have a couple of bits on Draft to Digital, and I've never seen any tokens, but that's quite recent. So
I've got a few of my collections of only a few collections of short stories are on there, partly because some of them I sometimes give away through my newsletter occasionally. So, but there's only, I think, Kindling and one of the other ones, a couple of the other ones, I think, short story collections, really.
So you mentioned Liz, you mentioned the dreaded M word. What kind of marketing do you do? Do you do Amazon ads, Facebook ads, social media?
Primarily Amazon ads. I have occasionally done Facebook ads. That's normally if we have some kind of offer on. things like countdown deals. We've had a couple of book bubs for the first book in each series. I think something else that really helped with the Castor and Fleet books was that we had the first 3 out very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because the thing is, we had the 3 books drafted in, I think it was maybe 2.5 months.
Wow.
So we,
it was quite quick.
edited, we collaborated on editing them.
Mm.
And I think we put them out June, July, and August. So the thing is, because they were all up, they were all there for pre-order, people could see, right, well, this is going to be at least a 3-book series. I think that, made people
take notice. And
take
they're very bright and in your face, aren't they? Because the size,
I think they look a bit more bright online. They're a bit more muted in person.
No, they're lovely and colourful. And also the size I'm seeing them on the screen now is pretty much the size that you'd see them on Amazon. So it's a good judge to see whether they're clear and whether you can tell the book by its cover.
Yeah, and I think we were quite careful about things like using a sort of a Victorian looking font and stuff like that. And from it being the case of in all the titles, you can tell it's going to be some sort of detective thing. So I think
I've done the same actually with
about positioning the books.
Yeah, I've done the same with my Henry Houdini dog detective. And so there's the main title. So the first one is Oh Henry, and it's how they meet and get together. So it's the sort of introduction. And then thereafter, there are things like Henry Goes to the Cinema. This is the one that's coming up next. Henry Goes to the Cinema, the case of the rogue llama. And so they always have a case of, so you know that's what it is. Yeah. So Paula, what are you working on now?
I am, well, I'm fighting with, or it's fighting with me, a new book set in the 1920s, so just post World War One, with 2 young people who have got sort of things in their past that are, are weighing them down really, and they both end up in the same place, trying to work something out which they think will resolve those issues, and that's what it's about. Liz is busy being traumatized by an alpha reader bit at the moment, even though I haven't actually sent her the last 4 chapters because I wrote.
Yeah, I do need to know how this ends, Paula.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, that would be nice. And in the background as well on my there-ish, there's a book called The Incomer.
Yes.
So I need to write the sequel to that. So I literally have got about 500 words, which is distracting me from doing what I need to get on with. So
yes, I think I read your snippet the other day.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, is that what she's up to?
Oh yeah, I mean, I wrote that ages ago, but I just thought I have to share something that Liz hasn't read. So
Liz, how about you? What are you working on?
Okay, well, I'm currently in the process of drafting Maisie Frobisher book 8. And that follows on pretty much directly from Maisie Frobisher book 7, which Paula has just beta read and given me feedback on. So as you can see, we kind of collaborate when we're not actually writing books together. Book 8 is, I'm having a lot of fun. Paula can probably work out why that is, because it's got an interesting setting. Once I've kind of got that under my belt, I think the next thing will be editing Lolmouth Bay book 3, which we're still not quite sure of the title of. So possibly A Tale of Books and Banshees. So there we go.
Are there any challenges? So last couple of questions, challenges and the best thing about collaborating. We'll end on a positive note. Are there any challenges? Oh, we have another. I was thinking about genre actually when you mentioned so we'll come back to the pros and cons of collaborating in a second. Val's asked, is there any genre you won't write? Liz, as you've got your...
There's one thing that has leapt to my mind, but I cannot say that one. So I can't see myself writing horror. There we go.
Okay.
I can't see myself writing horror either. I probably or erotic. Yeah, I think that's about it, really. The science fiction, I've always thought, would I write it? And I think I probably would if I. It depends on the type of science fiction. I'm sort of very character based. I think we both are. We sort of like get invested in our characters, and I do love a mystery, got to be honest.
Oh.
So.
Well, the two-part question has now become a three-part question. Because Val's Paula's just given me a nudge in the
Oh yes.
question. So first of all, we'll go Paula, then Liz, then we'll come back to Paula for the second bit. Liz, are there any, I wouldn't say cons or downsides of collaborating? Any frustration? Maybe that's worse to say. Any frustrations with
You're tying yourself in
collaborating?
knots here, Morgan.
I am.
Okay.
What's
Any
any
difficulties or
difficulty?
challenges? Right. Okay. I think sometimes it's because we're both control freaks about these things. I think sometimes when the narrative hasn't got quite where you thought it was going to be, and you had a lovely idea for your next chapter, and you're like, oh, I can't do that now. Things like that. I think sometimes for both of us, it's, just when life gets in the way. I think also we've kind of, as we've written more books together, we've gotten better at managing where we maybe don't agree about a plot point or a character. So there's that as well, I suppose.
Do you set yourself a deadline? Say we'd like to have this done by.
Yeah.
So
yes.
you've both got something to work. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, I think if you kind of have a big gap in the middle of something, you lose the momentum, and then it feels like it's twice as hard to get going again.
Yeah.
So I think for both of us, and I think one of the really good things about collaborating is you've got someone else there, so it's like I only have to write half of this book. This is great, and I'll still have a finished book at the end of it with my name on it. That's that's brilliant. But it's also the other person is waiting for you, and they can't do their bit until you've done your bit. So.
No, that's a really good
it kind
way
of
to
makes
work.
you go. And it's also the thought of, if I send this chapter, then, in another day, I'll have a nice new chapter to read that I haven't written.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's a great idea. I like that you're literally doing it, not chronologically necessarily, but certainly in order. So it makes more sense, because I know of some collaborations where they will work, the two main characters, they will work on separate characters, but they'll do their half of the book. And then while the other person's doing their half of the book, and then they come together, and there's so much then to redo because they don't.
That sounds like a nightmare.
I can't imagine that.
No. Paula, what's it like collaborating with different authors? Would it lead you into working with Val?
So obviously Liz and I decided to do the novel thing, and I think from what Liz said, I think part of it was because through the process we became really close friends. So we weren't close friends to start with. We were just people online, and
people
I think
who live in your phone, really.
Yeah, and that sort of helps eventually to become more. It's easier to be honest when you sort of think, I don't really like this. It's difficult when you don't know somebody very well, but to sort of do that, and especially to distance, because you don't know if you're offending somebody and blah blah blah. So I think that really helped to do that. And then somewhere, I can't remember, Val, but I think it was 2018 as well, or 19, really can't remember. But Val and I met through a different Facebook group, which was called Short Fiction something something.
Okay.
And you used to share little short flash and short stories and things like that. And that was where I actually thought, oh, do you know what? This stuff is going to stay in a drawer forever if I don't share it. And I shared it, and then I got positive feedback, and that really sort of kick-started me. Anyway, so I met Val through that, and she and I would both be doing this sort of thing. And I had this sort of, she loved dragons and I love dragons, and I had this image in my head of what Val was like. And so we eventually started sharing short stories and decided to bring a collection of short stories and flash fiction together, which is that one there. I don't know, it's probably a bit obscured by my name, but it's called Weird and Peculiar Tales because that's exactly what it is. So, and that's had two covers. Val likes the other one and I like this one, so we're going to swap it back to the other one at some point when Val's and Amazon start talking to each other, because she's having IT issues at the moment. Um, and I became close friends with Val as well. So, and as I say, went to visit her, and she was not what I was expecting, and I expect the same thing went the other way as well. So,
Right. Oh, well, hopefully I'll get in touch with Val, or Val get in touch with me, and find out more about
yeah,
Val's
because Val's
writing.
got loads of books. She does lots of short stories. She's got and she's got a couple of short novels as well, a few short novels as well. One of which I know she's working
Oh,
on the
well,
sequel to at the moment.
I'm a big fan of short. I say that if I could make a living out of short stories, I'd be in my element. But
Yeah.
still trying to make a living out of writing anything. You know, longer pieces, short pieces, longer pieces, non-fiction. So thank you, Paula. Thank you, Liz. It's lovely to have you. I'm glad in a way. I mean, I thank you for promoting this, but it's been lovely just having the two of you, because we've been able to find out in depth how collaborating for you anyway, for how collaborating works, and how you've developed it over the last 8 years. Thank you, and hopefully see Val again at some point.
Okay.
So thank
Thank
you
you very
very
much.
much.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having me.